Hello, I am Dr. Bonham-Carter, and in today's video, we will be talking about using Markdown to format text. In specific, we will discuss some of the basic syntaxes to help you get started with formatting your own text documents. But let me get started by first discussing why you'd want to use Markdown to format text. Well, imagine that you are completing a GitHub project. You will need to inform those who pull your repository how to use your work and how to run your code. Here, formatting your text document will help make your documentation much more readable. In Git projects, there's often a Readme.md file. Note the .md extension of the file informs us that the file is a Markdown file. This file comprises the central documentation for the Git project. Here's a README file from my recent project. In my README file, I have the project name, the date, my name, my email, some graphics, badges, links, table of contents, headers, and subheaders. And in my subheaders, I tend to have code blocks, which are these grayed out areas of code. Let's spend some time now to cover some of the basics in Markdown. Before we get started, I will be using the Atom editor, which was developed by GitHub. One thing I really like about this editor is that there is a Markdown viewer to facilitate the text editing and formatting process. We turn on this option by going to the Packages menu item and then searching for the Markdown Preview option. Here we will find the toggle switch for the Markdown display function. There. On the left, we have our editing space, and on the right, we have the formatted text. Headers are titles to sections of material in the text. We can use bound signs to designate the header and subheader titles. Here we know that there are different sizes of headers. You can use this code to customize your own header sizes in your document. Let's see some examples now. Here's my first section. I'd like to have the word introduction as my header. I can do this by adding one £sign and a space. Moving down, I have section A. I'd like that to be my subheader. I can use two £signs. And moving further down, subsection A1, I'd like to have that as my subheader here. And I can use three £signs for that. Now let's talk about common text formatting techniques. Here we will be using bold, italics, and strike-throughs. On your screen, notice that I've already created a document. In the document, I have words which I have italicized. I've italicized these words by putting stars and underscores at each end of the word. Also in this document, I have made words bold by having two asterisks at either end of the word and two underscores at either end of the word. They are both interchangeable. I've made bold and italicized words in the following way. You basically have two asterisks and one underscore, then you have your word, and then you have an underscore and two asterisks, and that's how you would have bold and italicized words. If you want to have a strike through where a line appears through the word, you use two tildes. If you'd like to separate your text, then you need a line feed and then three dashes and then another line feed. You'll see that a nice horizontal line appears. Now, when you're creating lists, this is the format that you would use to create your list. First of all, you have your main piece of the list to describe what it is, if you want. But basically, though, you have item letters and item more letters. The actual bullet points are used, or a list underneath each with pluses and minuses. The plus signs and the minus signs are interchangeable. But one thing I'd like to draw your attention to is notice how I have, for instance, more letters up here, which is list number 2. And then I have numbers, which is also listed as number 2. But notice, though, in my preview, it's actually listed as number 3. So what's going on here? What's happened is that Markdown has realized that this is a list, and it has numbered everything accordingly. And so, for instance, if I go down to the very, very bottom of my list, where I've named it 100, of course, there is no 100 piece here in my list. Markdown has noticed that this is actually the 4th piece, and therefore it has labeled this as list item 4. The last main elements of Markdown that you are very likely to use are code blocks. We use single quotes to designate code blocks. Note this quote key is the upper left to lower right quote key, which is found on the left side of the keyboard under the escape key. On your screen, I have designated some text. Embedded in my text is quote x2, keyword, runtime equals true, unquote. This is a code block which appears in my text, and you'll notice that it appears in a grayed out box. I can have standalone text if I want for more exciting code, where I have 3 quotes followed by the actual computer code followed by another 3 quotes. In some versions of Markdown, you're allowed to use syntax highlighting, as you can in GitHub. For this, you use 3 quotes followed by the word bash, followed by a line break, followed by the actual computer code, followed by 3 quotes. And you can see that in your syntax, you actually get some color in there. Like I said, this doesn't always work on every single Markdown platform, so please check into that before you start adding that code to your document. Often you'll want to show PNG, JPEG, or GIF files in your Markdown document. Such a graphic may be a screenshot or similar of your program. Adding this code is actually very simple. For example, in this document, your code to add a graphic is exclamation point, open and close bracket, logo, and then open and close parentheses, ac.jpg. Now, the file is this part over here inside the parentheses. This logo is what's displayed if the file is not present. Let me go ahead and change the file, and you can see in real time that the file disappears, but this word logo shows up. In this video, we have learned some of the basic, most useful techniques for formatting text with Markdown. Thank you for watching my video.